This is a great one, y'all. Hey, y'all, it's Bomber at Bomber's Garage, and I've got a new friend, Roger Rosebush, who is the inventor and owner of Be Cool Radiators.
Yes.
And though that is super, super cool, we're going to talk about his racing career, what he has done in the automotive industry to save and preserve local history in Bay City, engines, parts, family cars, all the stuff that you were doing that's just, I'm super impressed with. And we've also got a pretty cool amount of trophies in the back. So,
Well, part of this bomber is it's what we love to do, and I've always said inside the company and out, if we're not having fun, I don't want to do it.
yes, sir.
So, with a big appreciation for my family history in racing, my older brother Terry, my father, and several other people that have had an opportunity to work with us here, it's like we need to preserve parts of this and we need to make it public and, ship parts and design parts and have the facility to do something like this in Essexville, Michigan.
Yes, sir.
It's private in a lot of ways, but it's very public in other ways, and that's where I think we're going to get along really well.
Yes,
with
sir.
with having a relationship that's kind of similarly built. Our interests is what we're interested in is worthwhile, and hey, let's do it. We can have some fun.
Yes, sir. I got a quick tour today of one of the shops and a couple of the cars. We're going to do that. Look forward to this. It's going to be a series of interviews. I'm going to do the 10 questions with him. I've got some very interesting questions for him, and we're going to learn about some of these projects. So, sir, thank you so much for your time. This has been
Wow,
amazing.
it's fantastic to work with local guys here from Louisiana, of all
Yes,
places.
sir.
All right, well,
Thank you so much.
catching at you.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, bye bye. If you I don't know.
This is amazing.
Well, it's a grown-up man cave, is what it is.
Yes, sir.
And what we've got here is there are three different projects that I'll show you before. No, actually, there's four of them here. But the motors that are done and clean and on the market to sell, we tend to put these things here. 900-piece car collection of magazines and books that are one of my buddies' collection. That we're
This
going
is-
through to try to decide where they need to be.
Now, a lot of these are great for reference as well, aren't they?
Heck yes. And then, we're starting to. I like art at the end.
I can tell. Yes, sir.
That's Arnie Beswick. It's got his signature on that. This little Pontiac thing in '62 when they won the big events in NASCAR. A lot of the stuff that's unique and kind of fun to learn about is what you find here. These are a small selection of old, let's say, Tri-City Dragway trophies and different model car collections that are starting to get passed along to
Yes,
other
sir.
people that's doing some of the preservation of this kind of a thing, or maybe they're giving it to their kids, or maybe it's just a hobby that they've had, or a collection that they're trying to put together. A lot of this memorabilia is from the different events that we've had, or different events that we sponsored. Rosebush Racing has sponsored a lot of different events. And some of the artwork that makes an illustration before you finish a car, you want to kind of see how you want it
Yes, sir.
modeled. You chop the top, you do that kind of thing. Look at that old Zephyr up there.
That is cool. Hey, y'all, during this time, there was a part that I didn't have my phone recording when we took a little break to turn off the radio, and I missed a couple of minutes of chatting about that 55 wagon that I didn't realize till after I started editing. We are definitely going to talk about that and some of his other projects. Back to the chat.
That's how we like to start a project, is to get kind of an illustration of where we're headed.
Yes, sir. I love the driveway signal. That is awesome.
Which one?
The Milton driveway signal.
Oh, yeah.
That's I've got. I want one of those for my garage, just when people drive by, I can hear it ding.
You
so.
know, a good deal. This is a big block deal.
Yes,
This
sir.
is one of the small block projects, because what we're doing here is we're gathering parts so that when we go to do the final assembly, I don't have to, let's say, I don't have to find one of those Cal Custom small block Chevrolet oil pans.
Yes, sir.
This is a real hot rod deal from when we were kids.
I love this, and I like how this is customized for
Yes.
these parts to put
was
this
built-
together here.
This was built out in Cass City.
Oh, yes, sir.
Or not Cass City, but Cass Avenue in Bay City here. Steve Belser. So I said, I want a small block and I want a big block. And anything that's here is pretty special. I mean, I don't know if you're old enough to remember these types of General Motors packaging.
I have seen those, but yes, those are.
That's all of the old school stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yes, sir.
If you look over here, there's a collection of carburetors, a collection of crankshafts, all pretty much from this basic area, and all of the things to preserve some of the carburation and stuff that you need. Here's a 55 or 56 Corvette project. This would be like a startup example of what we start with. Most of the parts and pieces, the clear title, the things you need to build a hot rod today.
Yes, sir.
And then we will, as we go here, again, mostly in local cases, we can show you an example of, this one's about 99% finished.
That is absolutely beautiful.
It really, not only is it pretty, it's only got 2,950 miles on it.
Oh my goodness.
Drag miles.
Yes,
This
sir.
was, if you notice, this car was done by George DeLorean in Detroit. John DeLorean's brother. That
Yes,
was
sir.
the mechanical wizard. If you notice, look at the interior. For 1967,
That
this
is-
is a time capsule.
Oh my goodness, it is. It looks absolutely amazing.
It's a car worth putting some effort into because we're preserving history here in a lot of ways.
Yes, sir.
This being a good example of some very crafty people that we talk about, but we might not know much about. George DeLorean was more importantly like the engineering part and let's say the driveline expert. John being the designer and the illustrator
Yes,
for
sir.
Pontiac, and the guy that made the GTO famous and stuff like that.
For sure. That is
Okay.
an absolutely beautiful,
Now, locally,
beautiful car.
Yeah, locally, the driveline was done here in Bay City. If you look at the basic overload or just the presentation that we have here and the aluminum radiator, this is done in Michigan. These are not offshore pieces. These are done in Michigan. A lot of it gets done in Bay City here.
Yes, sir.
Depending on the operation that we're doing, because we're trying to preserve the way this car was built as a race car. This car was actually built at Pontiac as a race car in 1967.
That is amazing.
So it's quite likely one of the very first, if not the very first Firebird that ever come out of Pontiac. Now that's what I would consider to be pretty rare.
That is, yes, sir.
This is the other illustration from out in the Painted Desert.
Yes, sir.
That was a little mid-year Corvette. And that's the little wagon. This was the Black Widow that we had at the time, the 57 Chevy, fuel-injected 57 Chevy. Little 55 that we built for my wife. So
This is beautiful. It really adds to the
yeah.
flow of the shop too, having
well,
those.
you know what, it takes a lot of effort to kind of keep things clean and stuff, but a lot of this stuff gets really valuable, or it's a one of a one, and if I lose it, then it's gone forever.
Yes, sir.
this is a GTO that we prepped the metal work and are in the midst of the little motor, the little V8 that's over there. Is
I love the mini steering wheel.
yeah, those were all period correct. It's I think a 944 Grant wheel, and I used to buy those and bring them into Bay City, and then all the parts stores would
We'll carry
come
that.
up would carry them, and they could sell them. But the bottom line is, like on this one right here, this has got a Woodward Avenue history. They used to race this. A speed shop in Detroit had this, and they raced this Pontiac on Woodward Avenue back in the day.
That is
So I thought,
amazing.
you know what? We're here in Bay City, but it's pretty hard to beat a Woodward Avenue cruiser from the day.
It is.
And this is just a good example of something that's worth putting some time and effort into. But somebody else will finish this up. I'll prep this to this, and somebody will paint it red and put the motor back into it and have some fun that way.
Yes, sir.
And then the crown jewel of the whole program is back in here. This is how we take a family car that my dad bought here in Bay City when we were kids.
So this was your dad's.
Oh yeah. This is a family car that we
Look at that.
my dad was a salesman at Dunlop Pontiac here in Bay City. And when we were kids, we would take this car with 8 kids and my grandmother and go up north for the summer vacation. And then in 1970, my older brother Terry took, if you notice on the wall back there, there's a red photograph of this car racing at Tri-City here in Bay City.
Yes, sir.
Or in Freeland. So tri-powered 389. This is the original motor that was raced and rebuilt by my brother Terry and his staff of people when we were a little younger. And now I'm putting 4,000 nuts and bolts and screws together.
I'm appreciative because I do the same thing, and I love when I see people repurposing little plastic containers.
Oh my God. There's probably more time and effort into the right nuts and bolts and screws here than what you would normally see.
That sun sweep tack is nice too.
Well, if you come on
I'll
over
get
here,
on over.
you can see that we've got part of the upholstery looking good. Some of the painter Troy Gruba is his name over by Lansing. And then, of course, we just lay out all of these little original attachments that go in these holes.
For all the trim, yes, sir.
There's 350 pieces of stainless steel on this car that needs to go from here onto here.
Now, some of those I'd imagine you can't get anymore, so you're having to actually save and refurbish those.
What we've done here is we bought 7 different station wagons and took all the parts and pieces so we could make one good
to get
one.
those. Yes, sir.
So, and we're on the 85th, maybe the 90th yard line. I don't know. But we're going to get to the end of this whole thing. If you, I mean, it just goes on and on with fasteners and the proper nuts and bolts, all the stuff that we can use that are original Pontiac stuff, is what we like to do.
Yes, sir. I like that the care y'all put into this and the effort to
Oh
have.
my gosh, this is, well, you know, this is a really heavy duty amount of work. And I've been messing with this car for a long time because I want it a certain way.
Yes, sir.
But you know, when you get all these little things with the right nut and bolt and the proper screws and things, everything will work nice when we get done.
Yes,
It
sir.
won't be some kind of a cobbled up, throw this bolt in and that bolt. And try to stick with as much original stuff as we can get our hands on. The rubber obviously is old and gets crusty, so
Yes, sir.
we'll put different rubber in. But the things that we need to preserve this more likely will end up in a museum at some stage of the game.
Yes, sir.
So, so that's kind of a thumbnail sketch of what happens over here. At what our company's name is R&D Holdings. and that's a private company, but Rosebush Racing and Solution.cool is our websites. So we use that, to show people what and what maybe our services can do to assist them and to keep our hobby and all of our things that we have fun doing, keep it alive.
Yes, sir. So out here, like say with this engine here, is there a
Yes.
specific place that this is going?
Yes, to the GTO project.
To the
over
GTO
here.
project,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, that come out of the GTO project, and it was raced in Detroit. So, and it's got a very rare aluminum intake manifold that come on this with the proper carburetor. All of the 1970 numbers match what's going on here. So basically, we've just blueprinted this, put it back into a nice hot rod, drive it on the street and go fast.
Yes, sir.
A lot of torque, a lot of power. There's probably 500 foot-pounds of torque and 500 to 600 horsepower.
Now
Here.
to find items like this,
Yes.
are you using like your network of friends, or is it stuff you've collected over the years, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of just kind of waiting for my telephone to ring, because I got guys that will go, "Hey, did you know that there's a whatever?" And then I look into it, and if it fits into what we're doing, or let's say like that hood is a really nice preserved hood for that same GTO.
Yes, sir.
Those are tough to find because they're especially if you got a Michigan-based. This car was probably put away 30 years ago, and the metal and everything's now been preserved at a high level.
Yes,
So
sir.
we try to keep the parts together, and let's say if somebody wants a project, but they don't want it done 100% done. We don't finish that many of them, except for the ones we want to drive, like that little Firebird. Maybe we'll take that. It's never even been started yet. It's not
Yes.
not 100% done.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, it's kind of turning a hobby into a business.
Yes, sir.
So
I like that.
all of the service manuals and things that get thrown away when the hot rodder passes away.
Yes, sir.
So
I know I've got a couple of books and hot rod magazine that I've had for like the longest, that I got at swap meets back in the 80s and 90s and stuff, that you don't now. I mean, almost everything is on the internet. But to me, there's some knowledge in those books that you just can't get like you used to. So
I just happened to visit Hot Rod Magazine when they were scanning all the old catalogs.
oh yes,
They had a room as big as this right here with a bunch of people scanning and scanning and scanning. I mean, it was unbelievable what they did to archive all of their goods.
yes, sir.
That's what I'm doing in a lot of ways, to archive the goods that that are just getting lost.
Well, another thing that's lost, as I notice, is like, because I've got some AC stuff, and then this is going into a parts store when instead of a computer, they had to look through all of these books to find the part. And
that's exactly right. And you can see, let's say, even the MSD people today, these are old catalogs that different. This is the Iveco guys, if you know, the guys that make all those little fasteners and all that
Yes,
kind
sir.
of thing. The Automotive people.
such fantastic reference that you just don't have
you
now.
Can't find, this thing was probably done in the 50s, but it's got the illustrations and things in here just knocked me out, because this is all numerical stuff, but they've got little sketches and cutaways and
How they break down everything, yes, sir.
how you reassemble something. How do you take it apart and service it? Or how do you take it apart and, replace a fender, and you do it, in the ways that they built the cars.
Yes, sir.
Down in here, I'm just kind of cleaning up some of my work tables and things like that. And just capture, this is a really cool piece of art.
That is beautiful.
And let's see, some of the legacies of Dale Jr.'s cooling system that we built here in Bay City for his car that they spent a lot of money on.
Yes, sir.
And some of the Boyd Coddington's 56 Corvette, one of the very first Corvettes ever raced for General Motors. And just some of this old literature and some of the things that are just history.
Just it, yes, sir.
Like, I don't know how old that is, but...
that is super cool.
You're an old guy, so Merry Christmas.
Oh, for real.
For real.
Thank you so very much.
Well, if you're kind of a guy and you like this kind of a thing and you come here and you work with me, then when I get ready to put something down the road, I don't know how that come out of Bay City, out of the parts store. Gentleman is, God, probably 85 years old, but likes the real early Buick stuff, and I don't know. So I like to pass some of that stuff along to people that can do it.
Real quick, I want to get a picture of this Dell Jr. I have the Ram Charger wings in my Ram Charger.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
And the price of even floor mats and stuff like that from that era are just so expensive. It's
I just use them because I don't want to scratch up.
Oh, for sure.
I don't want to scratch up some of the stuff that I'm playing around with.
Yes, sir.
A lot of it's all work in progress, and you got to be patient.
Well, I really love this workspace because you have such good organization and it's laid out to work, and each project has its own area to work on.
Yeah.
Like you're saying with for the big block and then the small block engines to put that stuff there. Yep. You can put the wagon over there in its space, have all the fasteners laid out, and can work on it as you wish.
I don't have to keep going back and forth. I put everything that has to do with that car down there.
Yes, sir.
The documents, anything that it takes to help get it back put together. There's you're kind of if I understand the things that you like, you kind of like the old hot rod stuff.
Yes, sir.
So everybody that comes over gets a model car too.
Thank you. So, and I've got a great spot for this on my podcast.
Well, here's the deal. One of the widows had 400 cars, little model cars like this.
Yes, sir.
The end of the 400. And I told her, I said, I ended up buying a car, a really rare car, an aluminum front end 62 421. That was sitting back where the 59 is right now.
Yes, sir.
I said, I'll buy the things to help you out as long as you sell me the car. Well, I got 400 models. I said, I don't need 400 models. I'm not a model car guy, but I'll pass those along to people that come here that we work with.
Yes,
one
sir.
at a time. So that's kind of the little history of that kind of thing.
What a great spot. All right.
Yes. Back, I worked with the guys at Gasoline Alley. Jackie Howerton was the primary guy that made that alley right outside of the Indianapolis 500. Well, we bought the Howerton Radiator program from him, got to be a good buddy of his.
Yes, sir.
Talk about a fabricating, top of the line, everything kind of a guy.
That is awesome.
So that's kind of the Mooresville, JR Motorsports.
That's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to cut this section off right here, and thank you so much for your hospitality. This is awesome.
Well, some of the stuff that I like is like that Wonderful by Chevrolet.
Yes.
This was at SEMA when Camaro actually went there, and it was in the Holly booth where we were showing off some of their new products that they had going on. These are Michigan drag races back on the other side of the state, the U.S. Nationals. This is a pretty cool one that's pretty famous for Arnie Beswick.
That is beautiful.
This is our some of the very first race cars that we run around the country. Some of the Copo stuff from General Motors. The best appearing car in 1979. But what I wanted you to look, these guys right here are a lot like you.
Oh, yes.
Evan is putting together his digital files and interviews, so we had him up here to do that.
That is awesome.
But this right here is one of the first experimental 1957 fuel injection units.
That is absolutely amazing.
It's all done. It all runs like a champ. It's had fuel running through it. It's a very rare one. One of the first 50 ever built by GM. 1956. They didn't come out until the 1957 era.
Yes, sir.
So this was the prototypes are always done ahead of when they introduce a production car.
Yes, sir.
So this would have been one of the production units. If you notice, there's 9 different ridges here on a 57, which makes it different than the other 63 that we looked at.
Yes, sir.
So we're preserving this, and we're building the motor right now in Bay City for this. I think we got all of the critical parts found for the bottom half of this. But
that is, and just the style of that with the fins
man.
cast in the top of it, and just it's
a piece of work.
Yes, sir. It's
It's
art.
a piece of art.
Yes, sir.
But we work with these guys out in California. Any of the SEMA people, and just on and on.
Yes, sir.
So that's our kind of our claim to fame here in Essexville, Michigan.
That is awesome.
So use that as you will.
Yes, sir. Hey, y'all, thank you for watching. This is actually going to lead to a series with Roger where we're going to go over some of the projects more in detail. We're going to do 10 questions with him, 10 fast fire questions, have some questions that I know that he normally doesn't get asked, so that's going to be fun. And he is just a wealth of information, so much knowledge, so much history, and is, a very humble guy to have the network and some of the connections that he has. And I just, again, want to tell him, even here, thank you so much for your time and your hospitality. And I really look forward to chatting with him again. Thank y'all for watching, y'all. Appreciate y'all, and see y'all later. Bye-bye.